I'm Topher, the blue-collar gentleman, and I welcome you to my channel. In a previous video, we discussed the actions, traits, and values of being a gentleman. I've included a link to it down below, but today I'd like to explore the lost art of being a gentleman. I won't do the Webster's Dictionary defines art as speech. That's a very tired introduction, but I will use the definition of the word art that I think best applies to our discussion here. To me, if a person has made a facet of their life into an art, they're constantly seeking to improve not only their own grasp of the subject, but improve it as a whole. That is largely why I created this channel. It was my desire to not only become a better gentleman, something any gentleman should be doing, but also hear what others think is expected of a gentleman in the 21st century. So, getting back to the operational definition of art for this video, an art is in this instance, is the ability to make being a gentleman look like it's entirely natural. Like conducting oneself as a gentleman isn't an effort, it's the only way that occurs to a gentleman. Since the art of being a gentleman is centered around a man educating himself, I do my best to learn as much about being a gentleman as possible. Every morning, I read a selection from this book, entitled How to Be a Gentleman, A Timely Guide to Timeless Manners by John Bridges. It was compiled by the good people at Brooks Brothers, and considering their stores have attired gentlemen for over 2 centuries, I heed their advice. I also go to other YouTube channels, and I wouldn't be the gentleman that I am today without the contributions of Antonio at Real Men Real Style or the gang at Gentleman's Gazette. So I'm leaving links to both below. I have not been compensated in any way to promote either of these channels. I mentioned earlier the value of practicing in private. This can apply to a great number of things. Have trouble making a nice dimple when tying a necktie? Practice in front of a mirror while you're binge watching something on Netflix. Wish you had a signature dish that you could make for friends, family, or romantic interests? Are you willing to eat that dish once a week? If so, you can practice your way into being an accomplished gentleman with a rare beef Wellington that could put Gordon Ramsay's to shame. A simple way to make playing the part of a gentleman look easy is assembling outfits well in advance. I always seek my wife Nancy's input, and if you're able to get assistance from someone whose style you admire, you should take it. When figuring out a tie, shirt, pocket square, sports coat combination, I am willing to try mixing patterns I previously hadn't considered because you don't really know how it's going to look until you try it. Secondly, once I've figured out the pants I'll be wearing and which shoes to pair with them, I go straight to finding a pair of socks that tie the two together. This usually happens at least the night before, although sometimes I've assembled outfits a few days in advance. I find that right after finishing laundry is a great time to grab a pair of pants and put them with a complementing shirt. After that, I'm well on my way to assembling some great outfits. Once the outfit is completed, I decide which hat to finish the look, and with that, I'm ready for the next day. That is my best example of how I make it look easy, and how I pursue the art of being a gentleman. My attire is such that I rarely go into public without wearing a tie. I'm not going to suggest that a gentleman must be well-dressed. I've met plenty of gentlemen who always dress casually, and many well-dressed men I'd never regard as gentlemen. But you'd probably be amazed at how much better things go for a well-dressed man. The way you see me dressed right now is how I usually leave the house. Right or wrong, because of it I often get better service than those around me. I've even had instances in which those around me seem to acquiesce to me receiving better service than them. Let me give you a concrete example. A few nights ago I was in line at a deli. There was one other gentleman ahead of me. The proprietor looked right past him and started to ring me up before someone who was at the counter before I arrived. That gentleman, rather than demanding that he be served first because he was in fact in the first place in line, actually moved out of my way, suggesting that he thought it right and proper that I should be receiving preferential treatment over him. Because I'm a gentleman, I insisted that he get the proprietor's attention before I did. I recall this incident not to sound noble, but simply to demonstrate how much society gives preferential treatment to a well-dressed man. There are many videos out there to show you simple and yet easy ways to improve your dress. No doubt we'll delve into some of them on our own here, but let me know if you think we should discuss more in the comments. Thank you for watching. Topher.